My name is Sean, and for a long time, I thought I had the perfect life. I was a successful software engineer, and my wife, Kimberly, was a beautiful and caring nurse. We had been married for 5 years, and on the surface, everything seemed idyllic. But beneath that perfect veneer, a storm was brewing, and I was completely oblivious. It all started subtly. Kimberly began working longer hours, coming home exhausted. She'd tell me about the stress of her job, the demanding patients, and the endless paperwork. I believed her, of course. I'd rub her shoulders, run her a bath, and do everything I could to ease her burden. I saw myself as the supportive husband, the rock she could lean on. Little did I know, I was just a pawn in her elaborate game. The first real crack in our perfect world appeared on our anniversary. I had planned a surprise romantic getaway to a cabin in the mountains, a place we both loved. I spent weeks organizing every detail. The day before we were supposed to leave, Kimberly came home looking distraught. She told me her hospital was critically understaffed and she had to cover a weekend shift. She looked so genuinely upset, so apologetic, that I didn't question it. I just felt disappointed, but I told her I understood. Work comes first, I said, trying to be the good husband. We rescheduled our trip, and I spent the weekend alone, tidying up the house and waiting for her to come home. A few weeks later, a friend of mine, Mark, called me. He sounded hesitant. Sean, he said, I don't want to cause trouble, but I saw something weird the other day. He told me he'd seen Kimberly's car parked outside a fancy downtown hotel during the weekend she was supposedly working that grueling shift. I immediately defended her. She probably had a conference or a training session there, I explained, my voice a little too sharp. Her hospital uses that hotel for events sometimes. Mark backed off, but the seed of doubt had been planted. I tried to ignore it, to push it to the back of my mind. I loved Kimberly, and I trusted her. Why would she lie? It didn't make any sense, but the little things started to add up. She was always on her phone, smiling at texts, but quickly hiding the screen if I walked into the room. She started going out for girls' nights more often, but when I'd ask who she was with, her answers were always vague. Oh, just some nurses from work, she'd say, waving her hand dismissively. The real turning point came when I fell ill. I caught a nasty flu that knocked me off my feet for a week. I had a high fever, body aches, and could barely get out of bed. This, I thought, was when I'd need my caring nurse wife the most. But Kimberly was distant. She'd leave a glass of water and some crackers on my nightstand in the morning before rushing off to work. She'd come home late, claiming she was exhausted, and would sleep in the guest room so she wouldn't catch my flu. One night I was feeling particularly awful. My fever had spiked and I was shivering uncontrollably. I called out for her, but there was no answer. I stumbled out of bed, my head spinning, and made my way to the guest room. The bed was empty, neatly made. Her car was gone. I called her phone, and it went straight to voicemail. Panic set in. Where was she? Was she okay? My voice trembling, and asked to speak to her. The charge nurse on her floor sounded confused. Kimberly? She called out sick tonight, Sean. Said she had the flu. Hope you're both feeling better soon. The world stopped. The pieces of the puzzle clicked into place with a sickening thud. The long hours, the canceled anniversary trip, her car at the hotel, her absence while I was sick. It was all a lie. She wasn't at work. She wasn't sick. She was somewhere else, with someone else. The realization hit me like a physical blow. I stumbled back to my room and collapsed onto the bed, the cold truth washing over me. The woman I had loved, trusted, and cared for was living a double life. Her caring persona was just an act, a cover for her betrayal. When she finally came home in the early hours of the morning, I was waiting for her in the living room. The lights were on. I was no longer the weak, sick husband. I was a man whose world had just been shattered. She walked in, startled to see me, and immediately launched into a story about having to help a friend with a crisis. I just held up my hand to stop her. I know, Kimberly, I said, my voice eerily calm. I know everything. The color drained from her face. For the first time, the mask of the caring wife slipped, and I saw the stranger underneath. She tried to deny it, but the evidence was overwhelming. The lies crumbled, and the ugly truth came out. She had been having an affair with a doctor from her hospital for almost a year. Our anniversary weekend, The girls' nights, the extra shifts, it was all time spent with him. She even admitted that the night I was at my sickest, she had been with him. The feeling of betrayal was so profound, it was suffocating. It wasn't just the affair, it was the deception. She had watched me worry about her, make excuses for her, take care of myself while I was sick, all while she was with another man. She pretended to care while actively hurting me in the worst way possible. In that moment, I woke up. The fog of my perfect, happy marriage lifted, and I saw everything with painful clarity. There was nothing left to save. The woman I married didn't exist anymore if she ever had. I told her to pack her bags and leave. There were tears, pleas, and promises to change, but they were hollow. I couldn't unsee what I had seen. The weeks that followed were the hardest of my life. The divorce was messy and painful, but with every day that passed, I felt a little stronger. I leaned on my friends like Mark, who had tried to warn me. I focused on my health and my work, started rediscovering who I was without her. I learned that true care isn't about putting on a show. It's about being there, especially when things are tough. Her betrayal, as devastating as it was, ultimately set me free. It taught me a brutal lesson about trust, but it also showed me my own strength. I had been a supportive husband to a phantom, and now it was time to support myself. I'm still healing, but for the first time in a long time, my life is real. I'm finally taking care of the one person who truly matters, me. Thanks for listening to my story. If you've been through something similar, know that you're not alone and that it does get better. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories. See you next time.